Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat, who has represented Rhode Island in the Senate since 2007, joins me now. Thank you for your patience. Appreciate you coming on the show. That is sort of the tenor of what we heard in response to a lot of your questions. Did you get any of the answers you were looking for, Senator? And if not, can you actually hold Pam Bondi accountable?
The answer is no. And it's a particularly unfortunate no, because they were super simple, factual questions as to which the department has no privilege. So the FBI gives a guy $50,000 in a bag, in cash. What became of the $50,000 is a perfectly legitimate question, and I couldn't get an answer to it. The FBI director says that the Department of Justice sealed his grand jury transcript after he testified under immunity, having taken the fifth. Well, did they or didn't they? She couldn't answer that either. Simple yes/no question. Did the Office of Professional Responsibility investigate Emil Bovee for prosecutorial misconduct? Super simple question. OPR investigations customarily end in a public summary that's revealed. Again, couldn't answer. So the strategy here is to hide the facts and try to own the libs. And sooner or later, the problem with that strategy is that the facts will come out.
Will they? How?
Well, first of all, the next step is through questions for the record and then persistent continued oversight. I didn't get straight answers about the Kavanaugh background investigation for years, but I persisted, and we finally got out the evidence that Kavanaugh's background investigation, the supplemental background investigation, had been completely cooked by the White House, and that the FBI had exactly zero decision making. So, you know, you've got to persist when they're blowing smoke, but that's part of my job, is to persist.
You also grilled the Attorney General on threats to federal judges, which we know have been on the rise. I want to play some of that.
I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
including orchestration,
who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
Bingo. Why? Why did you want that answer?
Because so far we have seen what a prosecutor would call a lot of predication, a lot of factual indications that the threats against federal judges are being orchestrated. For instance, it seems very unlikely that across the country, dozens of people would suddenly spontaneously decide to send pizza boxes to judges who they're angry at with the names of the deceased son of another federal judge associated with the order. That looks like something that somebody orchestrated. And the danger is that the Marshal Service won't be allowed to investigate the orchestration. They'll only be allowed to investigate who sent one pizza box, and not, was there somebody behind this pattern, this potential scheme of trying to terrorize the federal judiciary into doing what the Trump MAGA DOJ wants it to do. And the obvious reason is that there's a huge conflict of interest, because guess who would be orchestrating it? It would be MAGA individuals and MAGA groups and MAGA forces. So she's on the horns of a real conflict there. And the fact that she promised she would look at orchestration is a first. I've never heard that said by anybody in the department before.
You've also demanded, I think you wrote a letter a couple months ago, Senator, about Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer to a minimum security prison. But now the president is not ruling out a pardon. Here it is.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I say, well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons.
What's your takeaway from that, Senator?
With Ghislaine Maxwell's last appeal now defeated, she only has two avenues left. One is to present an offer to cooperate with the federal government against other Jeffrey Epstein defendants, to present new evidence and try to get relief in her sentencing because of the value of her cooperation. And the other is to try to suck up to Trump, or by threatening to release more information, secure a pardon for herself. So that's the choice that she and her lawyers now face. Does she offer up new evidence, which would obviously be harmful to Trump, and which is something that the Department of Justice clearly would not welcome? Or does she try to bargain for a pardon, either by sucking up a lot or by letting it be known that she has information that she will divulge if she doesn't get a pardon?
Let me ask you about something, take you out of the hearing room for just a moment and ask you about something that was just said at the White House. I'd love to get your reaction to something President Trump said just moments ago at a meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. And he was basically asked about the right or lack thereof of sending federal troops into Democratic cities. Take a listen.
Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act? That would be, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing.
So he says he could invoke the Insurrection Act. It's been done before. And as if to punctuate it after that, and this is a city you know pretty well, he says now you can go out in D.C. and Washington and, quote, there is no crime in D.C. Your reaction to what you just heard from the president?
Well, his last observation is just another one of his fantasies. What happens when the president tries to send the National Guard or the U.S. military, the 82nd Airborne, whomever, into various cities, is that the Constitution steps in his way and the laws of the United States step in his way. And so far, federal judges have taken a look at his attempts and said, you know, this is actually illegal. What you are doing is not following the law. And as president, his number one duty is, as the Constitution says, to faithfully execute the law. So there's going to continue to be conflict between a president's duty to faithfully execute the law and President Trump's desire to put pressure on blue cities and to create dramatic moments and altercations for his media side in order to create the kind of chaos that is his specialty.
You have been very generous with your time. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you.